In one of my recent videos, I talked about being gay and the struggles which no one talks about, and you guys loved it. You ate that up. And I thought, you know what? People resonated with it and I can do this again. So that is why today I'm going to be filming being gay but not being able to come out yet. And I'm going to be talking about the mental tolls that that can have on you. People think that the hardest part of being gay is coming out, but no one talks about the struggles when you genuinely cannot come out yet. And that's not because you're ashamed or you're embarrassed, but it's because you have to prioritize your safety. And that is why today I wanted to talk about that topic, which honestly no one is talking about enough. And I want to be so clear at the beginning of this video that this video is not about weakness. Like, I'm not trying to shame anyone or make them feel bad. This is simply the truth and the reality for some people out there. And that is that you have to put your safety above everything else. Because some people grow up in environments or backgrounds which literally puts their safety at risk. And in those kind of situations, then choosing to not come out is probably the best thing that you can do. Okay, now I'm going to talk about my 5 main points. My first point, which is honestly one of my most important ones, is safety comes first. I've already briefly touched on this in the intro, but we're going to dive deeper. Personally, for me, I grew up in, I would say, quite a religious background. Both my parents were brought up in a religious background, and honestly, I feel like they passed down the same rules onto me and my siblings. And one of the biggest things that they passed down to us is that homosexuality is frowned upon. And obviously, if that's a religious belief, then like there isn't a whole lot I can do. Like, I'm not going to change someone else's belief. And I can't really tell them why they should look at the situation in a different perspective either. And so many people in my life knew that I was gay before I did. Like, throughout the whole of secondary school, people would always tell me, oh, you're gay, just come out, just come out, just come out. And I always thought to myself that I cannot do that because I need a house to sleep in. And if I came out, I'd be jeopardizing my safety. And as a 13-year-old little boy, that is not the best thing I can do. Because at the end of the day, I need a roof to sleep under and I need food to keep my stomach full. Which is why for some people, coming out is so much more than you think it is. Because that could literally mean being hurt or getting kicked out or being abused. And I'm sure there are so many other things which could also come with that. Which is why I always say that prioritizing your safety is the most important thing you can do. And I completely understand how much it can hurt. Because personally for me, from a very young age, I was taught that homosexuals were something to be frowned upon. It was not something to be proud of. And honestly, it was not something to be talked about either. Which is why when I was growing up and developing and finding my personality, I struggled so much to actually find out who I was. Because I spent my entire life literally living as a lie. And I knew that the person I truly was, my entire family hated, which are the people who are meant to support you the most. So I just want to say that if you're in a situation where coming out could literally put your life in danger, then please prioritize your safety. And I know it's going to suck now, but just remember that in the future, when you live on your own, you can be as authentic and as yourself as you want to be. But ultimately, growing up, you need a bed to sleep in, you need food to eat, so you have to put your safety first. And just remember that this doesn't make you behind in life at all. You're just protecting yourself, which you honestly have to do. So, you know, there's not a lot you can do. My second point is living 2 versions of yourself. This is such a big point for me because as I was trying to figure out who I actually was, I was simultaneously literally playing a decoy. The only time I could actually be myself was when no one was around me, which is honestly quite like damaging when I think about it because I never had that social experience. I never surrounded myself with people who actually saw the true me. Like if I was ever with another person, they were seeing a character, they were seeing a cover of who I actually am. Personally for me, I feel like the big switch was the person I was playing at home and the person I was playing at school. But not actually at school, but like with the people in my secondary school who I trusted. Oh, why is it not focused? Focus in, thank you. Because even with the people at school, like I'm thinking of these 2 particular people who acknowledged me and supported me and knew that I was gay and had no problem with it. At the same time, when you're in an environment which will shame you and the same environment in which I got bullied in, you have to be very, very careful about how you present yourself, the things you say, and just you. Because one wrong move could result in years of bullying, and that was too traumatic. Growing up at home and trying to figure out who I was so hard for me because I had to watch how I acted, what I said, and who I mentioned. Because if I acted wrongly in a certain way, or if I said the wrong thing, then there was a chance of me being hurt. And no one should go through abuse for simply being themselves. And whenever I was talking to a family member at home, and honestly even now, I always had to be very careful about what I said and how I acted. Like I could never truly be myself. Which I think is why I struggled so hard to find out the kind of person I really am. And I'm honestly still discovering that because I haven't had the opportunity to actually find out who I am and what I like. Because I know that me being myself will get me punished. And from a very young age, I was prioritizing my safety. So I was doing whatever I can to avoid punishment or avoid being hurt. And this mindset and literally the life I was living was so exhausting because I was always on alert. I could never ever drop my guard down. And this wasn't just at home, this was at home with my friends, at school, literally 24/7, because I was taught that being yourself will get you punished. And I lived through experiences which did actually get me punished, so I had to be very, very cautious. Which is why I constantly felt like I was never relaxed and I was always performing for someone else. I was never doing what actually made me happy. And I think that also led down the path of why I'm the biggest people pleaser ever. Well, why I was. I think because I knew if I didn't please what people wanted, I would physically get hurt. That is what actually put things into perspective for me. Because without even realizing it, I realized that I'm gonna have to please everyone in order to protect my safety. And that was my biggest priority growing up and probably still is now. Well, less so now, but you know, it's still important. My third point is having to dim your light around the people you surround yourself with. This is hard to go through because I know how much people's first support system can be their families. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case in my personal scenario, but I understand how it can apply to others. Because at the end of the day, with a lot of families who are accepting, they will be the people you go to when something isn't right. But if you have to make yourself smaller around them kind of people, then trust me when I say clearly those people are not the people who love you. Because if they did love you, then they would love every single part of you. Every imperfection, how loud you were, how charismatic you were, they just wouldn't care. But if you find yourself having to dim your light around these kind of people, then unfortunately, they don't love you. And even if your family say to your face that they love you, the reality is they don't. They love a version of you, not actually you. Personally, in my life, I never really grew up too close to my family because I always knew that they didn't like me and didn't accept me. And honestly, I was okay with that. I feel like from a very early age, I learned that if I wanted something or if I had to protect myself, it all came down to me. And honestly, I'm thankful that I went through that experience because I feel like that's why I'm so independent now. So if your family does not support you, then let me tell you, it is a blessing. And now you don't have to reach for anyone's support when you're going through a hard time because you can rely on yourself. If something goes wrong or if everything's falling apart, I know I can rely on myself to pick myself back up. I don't have to turn to people who pretend that they like me just because we have the same blood. I constantly remember growing up, I was always hiding my personality, my excitement, my joy. Literally every single corner of me, I felt like I was dimming and dimming and dimming. And I never got to truly experience what it was like to live as me. Like I was always putting on an act. And as a child, that was so hard because I was such a loud, outgoing kid. Like I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to be loud. I wanted to laugh. I just wanted to do the most 24/7. And when you constantly find yourself dimming your light because you know other people don't accept you and that it could lead to harm, that can take a toll. I was gonna say thankfully now I can live my life as myself, but we're still working on it. And that is why I struggled so much to find out who I really was. Like even now, I feel like I don't know myself as well as I could have if I was grown up in more favorable conditions. Oh, there's a squirrel. So I just want to remind you that it doesn't matter who is around you. The most important thing is your relationship with yourself. You need to make sure that you're okay with yourself and you're able to pick yourself up from the negative parts of your life. Because trust me, they will come. And when they come, you need to be ready and you need to be prepared to jump back 10 times harder. Because the truth is, unfortunately, you can't just rely on other people all the time because a lot of the time they don't like you or they're not going to be willing to support you. And if they do, then amazing and take full advantage of that. But a lot of cases, they won't. My fourth point is the guilt and confusion that it brings you. I remember growing up, I felt so guilty about hiding who I was. But at the same time, if I didn't hide who I was, then I would literally be hurt. And that was such a hard thing to go through because I have these two opposing ideas with no correct outcome. No matter what I did, I would either feel guilty or I would feel ashamed of myself, and there was no middle ground. And I think something a lot of people can struggle with, especially those who grow close to their family, is feeling like you're disappointing your family even though you've done nothing wrong. Now, personally, as I've mentioned, I don't really care for my family, but some people have grown up really, really close to their family and they can't help feeling guilty. But I want you to understand that there is absolutely nothing you can do. You are who you are and you are a product of everything which has gone on in your life. And you need to embrace every single ounce of that. Because there is nothing you can do. And when it comes to sexuality, you can't control that. So why would you feel guilty about something you literally cannot control? That makes no sense. And if you continue to live that mindset, then you're gonna be stuck in a never-ending hamster wheel and you will get so depressed. So trust me when I say, don't feel guilty. And even if you know publicly that your family hates gay people, then let them. Like, why do you care? You can't control what other people are thinking, so why do you care? I understand that you might be close to your family members, but if they're not gonna support you for being you, then they are not the right people you should be around. And I completely understand where this guilt can come from because I felt it as well growing up. I remember growing up and thinking like, oh, I would love to love my family, but how could I when none of them accept me? And that was a decision I made from very early on. If my family was not willing to accept who I am, then why would I give them the time of day? Like, no, 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 you are done. The only reason I speak to my family members now is because I haven't moved out. But the second I move out, I truthfully will not reach out to them. And that is completely fine, because not only do I not need them, but also I thrive better without them. But I get that this doesn't apply for everyone, and I get that people have grown up with families who do support them. But in a lot of cases, your family simply will not support you. And that is a hard reality check which some people need to go through. And even if you do love your family and you have a great relationship with them, you can love your family and still protect yourself emotionally, because at the end of the day, this is your life and you need to do everything you can to protect and prioritize yourself. So I literally support you. If you have a good relationship with your family and if they're actually helping you in life, then go for it, talk to them, spend time with them. But the minute you find yourself questioning your worth, and when you find yourself feeling down after spending time with these people, I think that's a sign for you to step away and create some distance. But obviously everyone has a different relationship with their family, so it's kind of like trial and error. You will figure out what's best for you. Another big thing which I don't hear people talking about is the sheer confusion I felt. Growing up, I was taught that if you're gay, that means that there is something wrong with you. So of course I felt confused, like that was inevitable. I was going to feel confused and I was going to feel lost, and I most certainly did. And I remember sitting as a child and thinking like, what is genuinely wrong with me? I remember thinking, what could I have possibly done which made me the way I am? And that mindset is one of the most damaging mindsets you could ever find yourself in, because you will spend so many years trying to find that answer, and that answer does not exist. Because there's nothing wrong with you, you are just like an ordinary person. But obviously if you are grown up in an environment where the people around you said that you were wrong and said that you were different, then obviously you're going to question as to why, what makes you different and what makes you stand out from the rest. And you're going to question why you're gay and what made you that way. And when you're just coming to terms with your sexuality, you're going to think about these questions. But as you mature and as you start to realize that there's nothing wrong with you and you are who you are, you realize that you don't need an answer because there's nothing wrong with you. You are exactly the person you're meant to be and you're exactly where you are in life. And don't let anyone take that away from you. Even the people who say that they love you the most. Period. I'm good at this. Like, I'm good at my advice. My final point is point 5, which is feeling like your life is on pause. This is something which honestly I still experience today as I'm figuring out who I am. Because when I was growing up in school, I saw so many people around me living freely. And I saw through the way they acted and the things that they said, they weren't trying to cover anything. They weren't trying to hide who they are, how they spoke, what they thought about, nothing. And that made me feel so uncomfortable because at that moment I realized that I was the outlier. I was the one who was different and I thought everyone else was also playing two sides in life. But that simply isn't the case, and great for them. And obviously that made me feel so behind compared to other people because I saw people having fun and being themselves and being truly authentic. And that is something which I worked so hard to do but I could never quite achieve because I always prioritized my safety and I had to. But that doesn't apply for everyone. Some people can spend their childhood truly learning who they are, and great for them. But in a lot of cases, especially for people who are gay, they won't have that opportunity to find out who they are until much later in life. And until then, there isn't a whole lot that you can do. Other than doing everything you can to be comfortable in who you are, that's honestly the extent of the things that you can do. Especially if you're brought up in an environment which literally shames your entire being, then you're stuck. You cannot do anything. So it's inevitable that I felt stuck in life and I felt like I literally was not going anywhere. Because how could I? When every time I tried to grow and I tried to learn more about who I was punished and I was shamed for it. And that is a sad reality which so many people go to, and if you're in that situation, my heart goes out to you. And that is why from such a young age, I always thought that the second I left my house, I would be able to be independent. I could wear what I want, I could speak how I wanted, I could dress how I wanted, and there would be no repercussions. But until then, unfortunately, I had to wear a mask and I could not reveal myself. So if you feel like your life is on pause, I just want to remind you that this is normal. You are on the right path and it's normal to feel behind in life. Because of course, if you're brought up for shaming people literally like you, then of course you're going to feel behind. Of course you're going to feel like you're going nowhere with your life. But you need to realize that that is some people's fixed mindset and you don't have to stay with that fixed mindset forever. Because when you're out of the house you grew up in and you have that independence, you can live your life for yourself. So please remember that you're not late, you're just preparing for the right time. The unfortunate truth is that some people will never have the chance to truly be themselves, and that literally breaks my heart. But for anyone in that situation, I just want you to remind yourself that you're building safety and stability. So please keep pushing, keep grinding, and keep showing up every day. Be you, be authentic, and have fun. Because your personality is your superpower. Out of the, 8 billion people in the world, no one has the same personality you do. You are unique, you are fun, you are charismatic, you are exactly who you need to be. So don't let anyone try and take that away from you, even if it's the people who say that they love you the most. Because if they're shaming you for being yourself, then they do not love you the most, and that is a hard truth you need to sit with. That is my 5 points all wrapped up, and I hope that you learned something useful. So if you're in a similar situation to everything I just explained, then I want you to know this. You don't owe anyone the truth before you're ready. If you need to live your entire life closeted until the final few years of your life where you're actually able to live your life as yourself, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, you have to protect your safety, and nothing should come in the way between you and your safety. So remember that you don't owe anyone the truth before you're ready, and you don't owe bravery at the expense of your own safety. You are on your own path and everything will fall into place. And please remember that coming out is not a race. If people come out when they're 10 or other people come out when they're 20 or 30 or 40, that is great for them and that is clearly their timeline. And yours may be different, and whenever yours is completely fine. And surviving quietly and hiding parts of yourself until you can actually embrace who you are and live freely is still strength, and don't forget it. If this video resonated with you, then I just want to let you know that you're not alone. And there will come a day where you'll be able to live freely and truly embrace who you are. But until then, prioritize your safety. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know in the comments if this video resonated with you, because I read every single comment. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye! I am so good at this. I'm actually so good. Oh, I'm tired. Stay strong, never give up, live for yourself, and prioritize your peace and prioritize your safety. Good night.